Welcome to Haven of Prayer. Today I want to share with you a powerful message that Jesus revealed to me, specifically for your life. You are not here by accident. There is a divine purpose for you, and everything that led you to this moment has a greater meaning. Stick with me till the end of this video, and let the truth of God's love and purpose fill your heart. Together, we will discover the extraordinary reason you're here.
Lord, I come before you with an open heart, knowing that I am never alone. Those who walk beside me are not by chance, but part of your divine plan. I long for them to experience the fullness of your glory, just as I have during moments of prayer and silence. From before time began, you have loved me, wrapping me in your presence even when I don't understand the way forward. Father, the world often turns away from your truth, but I don't want to forget. I know who you are because you live within me, and you've given me the gift of hearing your voice amidst the noise. Those you've placed in my life see your light, even in the shadows. They know I am not here by my own merit, but called to reflect what I have received from you. This fills me with humility and responsibility. Help me be a bridge, not a barrier. Let my life speak louder than my words, so that when others look at me, they see you in my actions, my patience, my living faith. Grant me the wisdom to guide without imposing, to love without conditions. There is still much to do, many souls to touch, many tears to dry. But I know as long as I stay connected to you, nothing will be in vain. Don't let me lose my way or forget that everything I am and have comes from you. I've spoken of you with every breath you've given me, and I will never stop, because the world needs to hear of your love. The love that unites, restores, and renews. As long as I have a voice, I will continue to proclaim your name amidst the noise. I want those who listen not only to understand with their minds, but to feel with their souls. That as they hear of you, they will cling to that unchanging truth and realize that being close to me is being closer to you. For there is no distance between us when love leads the way. Teach me to love as you do, without measure, without judgment, always with open arms. May the love we share be a mirror for others, so that they too may love with that selfless devotion that asks for nothing in return. Make every relationship I have an extension of your tenderness. Let me never grow weary of sowing patience, kindness, and compassion, even when I feel drained. Help me to look beyond the offenses and see the face of Christ, even in those who are hardest to love. There is still so much to learn about true love, but if you walk with me, I will not fear. Every step will be a lesson, and every fall an opportunity to rise with even more faith. Teach me to seek you not for appearance, but for my genuine need of you. May my prayer not be a show, but a whisper of the soul that only you can hear. In a world that rewards what is visible, help me to find the courage of the secret, of that intimate encounter no one sees, but that transforms everything. I've learned that silence with you is worth more than 1,000 words shouted into the wind. That's why I want to close the door to noise and open the one to my heart, so that there, just you and I, can have a real conversation without masks or pretenses. I don't want to pray out of obligation or routine. I want to speak to you as a child speaks to a father, with sincerity, with trust, even with tears when necessary. Let every prayer be a refuge, not an empty habit. Thank you for seeing me when no one else does, for valuing my clumsy words when I have no strength, for embracing me even when my faith falters. You, who see in secret, are my safe refuge, and even if the world doesn't understand, I will continue seeking you in the simple, in the hidden, in the stillness. For it is there that you fill me with peace and remind me that I don't need applause, only your gaze. Sometimes, Lord, I find myself speaking to you with repeated phrases, as if by quantity I could touch your heart. But today I understand that you don't need adorned words or long speeches. You know what is in my soul even before I discover it myself. I don't want to fall into the trap of praying just out of habit. I want to learn to converse with you from the depths of my being, without formulas or empty repetitions. That each time I come to you, I do so with authenticity, like a child who needs to be heard beyond the words spoken. Thank you for not demanding perfection in my prayer, but truth. You don't expect me to impress, but to surrender. You're not waiting for me to speak more, but for me to trust more. That gives me the freedom to open my soul without fear or shame. In the midst of my busy days, help me to find inner silence, to stop for a moment and say to you, with all my heart, "Here I am, Lord, and I know you are here too." Because in that simplicity, I find the depth of your love. Lord, I come to you today with a humble heart, realizing that my most powerful prayer is not in the words I speak, but in how I surrender myself to you. In that act of humility, you move with power, shaping my life in ways I can't always understand. I know that loving you is not just about speaking your name, but walking with you, following your word with an open heart. Your love is revealed strongly in those who truly surrender to your will. I want to be one of those who not only hears your voice, but lives by it, reflecting what I believe through my actions. Help me not to get lost in theories or appearances. Teach me to act with justice, to be kind even when it's hard, to forgive even when it hurts. For only then can I say that I remain in you, not with my words, but with my deeds. I don't want to be a faint reflection or a shadow of your light. I long for every decision I make to echo your example, so that others may see a spark of your presence in how I speak, how I look, how I live. There are times when I stumble, get distracted, or drift away. But even in those moments of weakness, I know you call me back, guiding me to walk the path that leads to you. Thank you for your endless patience and the tenderness of your love that guides me back every time I fall. To walk as you walked is the greatest challenge, but also the greatest honor. Though I feel unworthy, you hold me up, giving me the strength to try again each day. Father, I know I cannot walk in your light if I harbor resentment in my heart. Love is not just a feeling. It is a daily choice, a decision that sometimes hurts but always brings freedom. I want to learn to love, even when my pride wants to shut others out. Sometimes I struggle with forgiveness. I acknowledge that. There are wounds that seem impossible to heal, memories that cloud my will. But you call me to something greater, to live in your light. And that light can only shine when I choose to love unconditionally, with no reservations. I don't want to get lost in the darkness of judgment or the shadow of resentment. I want to see clearly and move forward without stumbling. And that's only possible if I allow your love to transform my relationships. Teach me to see others with your eyes, to remember that each person has their own struggle, their own story, their own pain. Give me a patient, merciful heart, one that is ready to build bridges and not walls. Every time hate whispers in my ear, remind me that there is no greater victory than forgiveness. When I love, when I let go, When I bless, that's when I truly walk in your light. There are days when anxiety hits me out of nowhere. I find myself thinking about tomorrow, about what's lacking, about what could go wrong. But when I stop for a moment, I remember that life itself is an immense gift, one that I should never take for granted. The value of who I am is not measured by what I own, nor by what I wear or consume. There is something much deeper, a richness that doesn't depend on the outside. What truly matters is not in things, but in what remains when those things are gone. I have seen how fear of the future steals the peace of the present. That's why today, I choose to let go of that burden. I don't want my heart to be consumed with what hasn't yet come. I'd rather embrace the now, the breath of this moment, the beauty in the simple things. Food can satisfy for a few hours, clothes can cover for a time, but none of those things can fill the emptiness of my soul. And it's there that I realize I am made for something greater. If I begin to trust, to let go of some control, I might find that everything I need is closer than I think. Observing the free flight of a bird is a silent reminder of something deep. Life doesn't always need to be controlled to make sense. They don't worry about tomorrow, and yet they lack nothing. If such a small creature finds sustenance each day, how can I think that I'm alone in my needs? Maybe I've forgotten how valuable I am, how deeply cared for I can be, even when I can't see it. There are times I try so hard to have everything planned, believing that will bring me security. But true rest comes when I let go, when I allow life to flow with less fear and more trust. There is wisdom in nature that we often ignore. Birds don't run, they don't hoard, and yet they survive. Maybe I need to learn from them, to live lightly, trusting that there will always be provision in the right moment. I am worth more than I imagine, and that doesn't depend on achievements or merits. It's rooted in an unchanging truth. I am cared for, even when I don't see it. Worrying feels so natural that it sometimes becomes part of my routine. But when I stop and think about it, what good is all this mental burden if it changes nothing? No repeated thought has added a single day to my life. Anxiety promises solutions, but only multiplies fears. It steals my time, energy, and peace, offering nothing in return. It's like walking in circles, tired, but not moving forward. Every moment is as fragile as it is precious. Spending it on worry is losing opportunities to enjoy what I can control. How I respond, how I breathe, how I live in this moment. Life doesn't stretch longer with fear. It becomes richer with presence. Maybe I don't have all the answers today, but I can choose to release the tension and create space for peace. It's curious how, when I stop trying to control everything, I begin to see more clearly what truly matters. Lord, it's fascinating how the simplest things can often be more beautiful than the most elaborate. A lily, with no effort or human design, blooms with a grace that defies all logic. It doesn't work, it doesn't harvest, and yet, it presents itself to the world with an elegance that leaves me in awe. Thinking about this makes me question my own rush, the need to appear, to prove, to reach imposed standards. What if the most beautiful part of me isn't in what I wear, but in what grows from within? Sometimes, I focus too much on outward appearances, forgetting that what truly impacts others is not in the decorations, but in the heart. It's not the clothes that beautify the soul, but the peace that resides within it. Comparison robs me of my joy. But when I look at a flower and realize it doesn't compete with anyone, it simply grows, I feel a longing to live with that same freedom, to be authentic, to live without masks, and to trust that there is beauty in who I am. That is living with true splendor. It's surprising to think that even things with so little time on this earth, like the grass of the field, receive care and detail. If something so temporary is dressed with such attention, how can I doubt that there is purpose in every part of my life? Often, I feel small, insecure, as if I don't deserve attention. But these words remind me to look beyond the fear and see that I am not forgotten. I may not see the whole plan, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. Doubt is part of the journey, but staying in doubt keeps me from all the blessings I could receive. It's not about having perfect faith, but about taking small steps even when the ground trembles. I admit that trusting is hard for me, but when I pause to observe, I notice signs of care all around. In a hug, in a timely word, in the simple act of breathing today. Maybe it's not about understanding everything, but believing that even in the small things, something big is happening. Running after what feels urgent makes me forget what is truly important. Questions about what tomorrow will bring, what I might lack, what could come, trap me in a spiral of anxiety. But I wasn't born to live in distress every day. It's natural to have needs, of course, but it's also wise to realize that these concerns should not dominate my mind. There's a difference between being responsible and living with constant fear. Too often, I cross that line without realizing it. What if I learned to let go a little more? To trust that what I truly need will come in its own time? Not everything is within my control, and maybe that's where the greatest freedom lies. Accepting that and continuing to move forward. It helps to remember that I am not invisible, that my needs don't go unnoticed. There is a deep knowledge of who I am and what I lack. I don't need to shout to be heard, nor do I need to run to receive. Finding peace in the midst of chaos is possible. It starts when I stop repeating anxious questions and begin to rest in the certainty that I'm not alone. I've learned that when I reorder my priorities, everything begins to fall into place. It's not about neglecting my responsibilities, but about understanding what should be at the center of my heart. The eternal first, and everything else follows as a result. Seeking something greater than my own desires gives me perspective. When I focus my life on just principles, on goodness, on compassion, the other pieces start to fit together without as much struggle. It's not always easy. The world's noise shouts the opposite. Accumulate, run, prove. But inside me, there's a quieter voice, one that invites me to look up before I look around. Connecting with what is true and deep fills me with a calm that cannot be found in material things. And it is in that calm that I find provision, meaning, and direction. Maybe the promise isn't to have everything, but to have everything I need when my heart is aligned with what truly matters. There's an unnecessary burden we tend to carry, the burden of the future. We think about what hasn't happened yet, as if that gives us more control, but all it does is drain the strength we need to live today. The present day already brings its own challenges, and it's enough to face them one by one, without carrying the weight of tomorrow as well. Living day by day, without rushing the clock, is an act of wisdom I need to practice more. Each day has its own rhythm, its own lesson, its own opportunity. There's no use in running to solve what hasn't yet come. The brave thing is to face what is already here, with faith and serenity. I've discovered that when I focus my mind on the immediate, I can breathe easier. I can see clearly and act with peace. And in that attitude, Tomorrow is built with more strength. It's not about ignoring the future, but not allowing it to steal the best of today. Sometimes I fall into the trap of looking at others harshly, as if I have no wounds or mistakes of my own. But every time I do, I feel something inside me harden, as if compassion is shutting down. It's easy to point fingers, much easier than understanding, but judging only pushes me away, makes me less human, less sensitive, and it also creates a mirror. What I give returns to me in some form. Lord, when I choose to see through the eyes of grace, I find freedom. Not only do I free others from my judgments, but I also release my own soul from the heavy burden that stops me from loving fully. I've come to realize that no one truly knows the full story of another person. Behind every action, there's often a struggle, and behind each silence, there might be a hidden pain. So, I try to remind myself that everyone carries something deeper than what I can see. I prefer to be a bridge rather than a wall. I'd rather embrace than point fingers. In the end, we're all walking, stumbling, and rising again. When I think about it, I realize that the way I treat others usually comes back to me with equal force. It's like life echoes back the words and actions I put out. That gives me pause, makes me think twice before I react. When I react harshly, I often get the same in return. But when I extend understanding, the world is more likely to return tenderness. It's like an invisible law, a silent justice that governs everything. Offering grace isn't a sign of weakness, it's courage. It takes stepping aside from my pride to embrace empathy. No one loses by being more human, more patient, more generous. Every time I choose to measure with love, I'm planting a future that's lighter, freer. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Being just doesn't mean being cold. It means acting with a heart that understands everyone deserves a second chance before being judged. It's so easy to spot the faults in others, isn't it? A wrong word, a decision I don't understand, and immediately, I'm quick to point it out. But how much harder it is to recognize my own mistakes, those things I try to avoid looking at with honesty. There's a quiet blindness that creeps in when I focus my criticism outward. Meanwhile, inside me, there might be deeper faults I haven't yet had the courage to face. Looking inward takes humility, and I'm not always ready for it. But that's where real change begins. In self-reflection, in sincere repentance, in the courage to accept the parts of myself that need transformation. It's not about ignoring what's wrong in others. It's about first focusing on my own heart. How can I help if I haven't yet cleaned my own lenses? Before I correct, I need to heal. Before I point, I need to review my own inner state. Only then can I reach out with compassion instead of judgment. It's a human contradiction, wanting to correct someone else without first doing the personal work. Sometimes, I think I see clearly, but my own faults distort my view. It's tempting to try and fix what's wrong with others. It feels easier than looking at my own cracks. But real help begins with honesty, not appearance. When I admit my own fragility, I can approach others as equals, not from a place of superiority. And in that space, something beautiful happens. Correction becomes support, and criticism becomes loving guidance. No one needs to be perfect to offer advice, but sincerity is essential. Sincerity opens doors that arrogance closes. Maybe the key is remembering that we all have something in our eye. And before I touch someone else's pain, I must first touch my own with tenderness.
Dear brothers and sisters, as I reflect on our time together today, I am reminded that grace is the true foundation of healing and connection. When we choose to see ourselves and others through the lens of compassion, we set ourselves free from the chains of judgment and embrace the beauty of human imperfection. It's so easy to focus on the faults around us, but real transformation begins when we turn inward, acknowledging our own flaws with humility and grace. Every moment we spend with an open heart, choosing empathy over pride, sows seeds of peace and understanding. It is through these small acts of love and kindness that we create a brighter future, not only for ourselves but for the world around us. We are all walking this journey together, sometimes stumbling, but always rising again through His grace. So, I encourage you, my friends, to share this message of hope with your loved ones. Share the light, the understanding, and the love we are called to give. Let's help one another grow in grace, compassion, and forgiveness. Remember, true healing begins when we view others through God's eyes, with patience and empathy, rather than judgment. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to share it with your family and friends. Let's spread this light and encourage others to walk in His love. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to Haven of Prayer for more reflections and prayers that guide us towards peace, understanding, and spiritual growth. May God bless each of you abundantly, and may His peace dwell in your hearts forever.